In reaction to Russia's attack on a MQ-9 Reaper drone, the U.S. today sent two aircraft carriers, the U.S. George H.W. Bush and the U.S. Gerald R. Ford, to the Mediterranean Sea. The United States has made a huge move here because it sends a strong message to the region. When a Russian anti-aircraft missile knocked down the MQ-9 Reaper drone over the Black Sea, it was on a regular surveillance mission. The incident was denounced by the U.S. as an unprovoked and reckless act. To let Russia know that such action will not be accepted, the United States responded by deploying the two aircraft carriers to the area. The United States' commitment to defending its interests and those of its friends in the region is demonstrated by the deployment of two aircraft carriers, which is a huge show of force. Two of the most potent and cutting-edge aircraft carriers in the world are the U.S. George H.W. Bush and the U.S. Gerald R. Ford. The largest aircraft carriers in the world, the Bush-class carriers have a maximum payload capacity of 90 aircraft, including fighter jets, helicopters, and observation planes. The cruisers, destroyers, and submarines in the strike group with the aircraft carriers make up the group. This strike group is equipped to conduct a variety of military activities, including precise strikes and reconnaissance flights. Russia is clearly informed by the presence of such a potent strike group in the area that the United States is ready and able to protect its regional interests. The importance of the aircraft carrier's deployment is partly a result of Turkey's position in the region. Turkey is a crucial ally of the U.S. and a part of NATO. The United States military alliance with Turkey will be strengthened by the deployment of the aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea, which will also show the country's dedication to its NATO allies. Russian aggression in the area has become a growing source of concern for the United States in recent years. In addition to being involved in crises in Syria and Libya, Russia has been increasing its military presence in the Black Sea. The deployment of the aircraft carriers sends a strong message to Russia that the U.S. is prepared to defend its regional interests and will not back down in the face of Russian aggression. The ongoing violence in Syria makes the deployment of the aircraft carriers important. In its struggle against the Assad administration, the Syrian opposition has received support from the United States, while the Syrian government has received help from Russia. The United States will be able to launch airstrikes against the Assad regime if necessary thanks to the deployment of aircraft carriers to the area, which also demonstrates the country's commitment to aiding the Syrian opposition. Tensions between the United States and Russia are also likely to rise as a result of the aircraft carriers' deployment. Russia has already increased its military presence in the area in response to the deployment. Russian fighter jets have been flying close to the aircraft carriers, and the Russian Navy has sent additional warships to the Black Sea. The deployment of the aircraft carriers can cause deadly tensions between the two nations to rise. It is significant to highlight that the United States does not take lightly its choice to deploy two aircraft carriers. The United States is fully aware of the possible repercussions of such a move and has probably considered the advantages and disadvantages of sending such a sizable military force to the area. The United States deployment of the aircraft carriers is a component of a larger plan to counteract Russia's aggressive actions in the area. The United States has been working to increase its military presence in the area and has been giving its friends there, such as Georgia and Ukraine, military support. In an effort to show off its military might and prevent Russian aggression, the United States has also been conducting military drills in the area. The ongoing crisis in Ukraine has a big impact on the deployment of the aircraft carriers. In addition to annexing Crimea, Russia has been assisting separatist fighters in eastern Ukraine. The United States has been giving Ukraine military assistance while urging Moscow to stop supporting the separatists. The United States will be able to launch airstrikes against the rebels if necessary thanks to the deployment of aircraft carriers to the area, showing its commitment to aiding Ukraine. The wider geopolitical environment is likely to be impacted by the deployment of the aircraft carriers. Due to China's increasing rivalry, the United States has been seeking to fortify its regional alliances and partnerships. The United States military alliance with Turkey will be strengthened by the deployment of the aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea, which will also show the country's dedication to its NATO allies. Other nations in the area, like Iran and Israel, are also likely to be keeping a close eye on it. There are risks involved in the deployment of the aircraft carriers. Tensions between the United States and Russia are anticipated to rise as a result of the United States' substantial military presence in a sensitive area. However, if Russia perceives a threat from the American military presence, the deployment of the aircraft carriers could spark a larger battle in the area. It is significant to note that the United States' retaliation to Russia's strike on the MQ-9 Reaper drone was not limited to the deployment of 2 aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea. Additionally, the United States has sanctioned Russian organizations and people, expelled Russian diplomats, and given Ukraine military assistance. These moves show that the United States is prepared to confront Russian aggression in a variety of ways. It is a difficult and expensive operation to send 2 aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea. Massive ships, the aircraft carriers itself can hold upwards of 80 aircraft, including fighter jets, helicopters, and unmanned aerial vehicles. The strike group will also consist of cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and support vessels in addition to the aircraft carriers. The local economies of the nations in the region are probably to be impacted by the deployment of 2 aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea. Local businesses and the local economy are likely to be stimulated by the influx of many military men and their families. The deployment of the aircraft carriers, however, also carries the possibility of escalating tensions with the local populace, particularly if there are worries about how the military presence may affect the area's natural resources or locations of cultural significance. It is also important to remember that the United States has already utilized military action in the Mediterranean Sea prior to the deployment of the aircraft carriers there. Beginning in the 1950s, the United States has a lengthy history of intervening militarily in the Middle East. The 2003 invasion of Iraq, which was contentious and ultimately had serious political and economic repercussions for the United States, was the most recent large U.S. military action in the region. The United States is also dealing with a variety of other difficulties across the globe. Therefore, the deployment of the aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea is also happening at this moment. The United States has to contend with the ongoing battles in Afghanistan and Syria, as well as hostilities with Iran and North Korea, in addition to its rivalry with China and Russia. In order to successfully manage these difficulties, the United States will need to carefully balance its military responsibilities and priorities around the world. In conclusion, the United States made a critical decision by deploying 2 aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea in reaction to Russia's attack on a MQ-9 Reaper drone. It is a significant display of force in the area and shows how committed the U.S. is to defending its interests and those of its allies. The United States will need to carefully manage the situation to prevent an escalation and lessen the impact on the local populace, because the deployment entails considerable risks and expenditures. In the end, the deployment of the aircraft carriers to the Mediterranean Sea is a reflection of the region's complex and changing geopolitical environment, as well as the continued difficulties that the U.S. has in retaining its dominance and power on a worldwide scale. Thanks so much for watching till the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn the notification bell on so you never miss a video. Until next time, see you later.